All right, I want to welcome everybody to our Space Experiences on Earth panel. Particularly excited about this one and excited to have Emily Apollonio from Interstellar Performance Labs and Loretta Hidalgo Whitesides from SpaceKind. Do I get to say this is our fifth panel in a row right now?
You're
Um,
doing God's work, Mark. It's
but
fantastic.
Fair enough.
fantastic to have you both here and to be talking about your programs and the ways that people can be connected to space without leaving Earth. As a footnote, I really hoped to have Kirby Runyon on this panel too, but we got him in earlier in the day when his schedule accommodated it for the space science panel. But loved my experience with him just this past week, getting teachers and enthusiasts out into the desert and to the spaceport. So this is awesome that you don't have to leave the planet to be connected to other planets and to be connected to what's happening in space today. So I'm going to take the slide down. And we should then see you guys nice and big for the recording. But that is not happening for me right here. Hang on just a second, Ron, while I get this sorted. I should. There we are. I stopped presenting, but didn't stop sharing screen. So now we've got it sorted. For the recording, we've got Emily and Loretta here with Ron and I and all the participants in the chat. Definitely be thinking of questions that you have for our two panelists. But Emily and Loretta, I want to ask you a question I've been asking all day, but the variety of just engaging, meaningful answers that we're getting is has been fantastic. But what is the trajectory that brought you here today? So, what is the life path that brought you to your space related work and to this space education event today? And to extend the metaphor a little bit, is there anyone who may have given you a gravity assist along the way and changed the trajectory of your life? uh,
Like,
Loretta,
I'm
go
gonna go with
ahead.
Frank White on the gravity assist.
okay. Well, do you want to kick us off then, Loretta? Let's.
Because he both helped me with my space career trajectory. When I was in college, I was, this is pre-internet, or I'm ancient, or and I went to the library. That was back when you had to go to the library to read about space. Libraries are this incredible thing based on trees. You guys should check it out. Um, and I found his book in the space section, the Overview Effect, and this is the early 90s. Um, and I loved it. Space Overview Effect, Space Exploration and Human Evolution. And I was just like, oh, this is so perfect. Can I major in this? But apparently it wasn't a major. Still isn't. Got to work on that. But I road trip to Boston just to meet him. In pre-internet days, so I had to like look it up in a book, like how to find him and like call on a phone, like try to set up a meeting with him. Anyway,
Did you
magical,
go to
magical.
Harvard? Like, where did you meet him? Or
I
did you
went
go
to
to his
Harvard. Yeah,
house?
I went to his
Okay.
office at Harvard. Um, and and then today, and then I also owe Frank White for why I'm here today because of the Overview Effect Roundtable is where I met Mark, and and where I hang out with Ron, and that's where they came up with this idea for this summit, and we're like, hey Loretta, you should join on Friday, and I was like, yeah, let's go. I love you guys. I support it. I support it all.
Awesome. And Loretta, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about sort of your career trajectory, if you will. Like where did you start out? Where have you wound up? What kind of work are you doing
Oh
now?
my gosh, it's been a wild and crazy journey and adventure and excitement. Oh, so much, too much fun. I don't know how I got to be so lucky. I came into Stanford with a physics, majoring in physics. That did not last long. Basically, calculus and yeah, anyway, ended up walking out of Stanford with a degree in biology because I wanted to work on human space flight. And I figured if I was working with plants or bunnies or something, like, only astronauts can do that kind of research. So it limited anyway. So and then they invented astrobiology in the 90s, which was great because then I got to be an astrobiologist, and look for, go to the Arctic and do research with NASA on plant growth in extreme environments at Houghton Crater, which was fabulous. And then I went to Caltech to get a PhD in astrobiology. That also didn't last very long. There's a theme, I think. And then, but luckily for recent PhD dropouts, there was this fabulous opportunity where James Cameron was looking for people who could spend a month on his big boat diving in the Russian submersibles to the bottom of the ocean like they used for Titanic. And I was like, I've got time. I could totally take a full month off, no problem at all with my schedule at the moment. And so I got to do a month in the Atlantic and a month in the Pacific, diving with James Cameron 2 miles underwater to the hydrothermal vents as an analog for like Europa and alien oceans worlds. It was an unbelievable, extraordinary experience. And then we were filming an IMAX movie, Aliens of the Deep. So, which is now available on Disney Plus. So the movie this IMAX came out in 2005.
Whoa.
But because of Disney Plus, it's had like a resurgence because now you can just watch it on your couch. So, for free or whatever. If you
It's
know somebody
included.
who has Disney Plus, you can watch it on their couch for free. And so yeah, so that was a fun thing. And then ended up I worked at X Prize during the X Prize launches in Mojave in 2004 on Sorry X Prize, and then at Zero Gravity Corporation. I met Peter Diamandis at International Space University, and then I got involved with where am I? Zero G. What's after Zero G? Oh yeah, Zero G. Right. So then I got to fly with Zero G. So they have a 727 airplane, and we do this roller coaster in the sky. And every time you go over one of the parabolas, you get this to float for 30 seconds. So I have done 80 flights as in-flight crew for Zero G. So I've in 30-second chunks, I've amassed about 5 hours of weightless time floating, which is like the coolest space experience you can have on Earth. I mean, anyway, it's like exotic and familiar at the same time, which is like so magical and cool. So I got to do that, and that was great. And yeah, I blogged for Wired Science every day on doing as a science communicator, which was a lot of fun. I worked in the NASA exploration office at headquarters till I got fired. Again, didn't last long. I started Yuri's Night, which is the World Space Party, every April 12th or thereabouts. It's like St. Patrick's Day. Whenever you want to drink is fine. And we try to get the world to celebrate dual space anniversaries from Soviet Union and the United States and show the power of space to bring the world together. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this April, so please join us. And yeah, and then from there, oh yeah, right, the Virgin Galactic part, the Virgin Galactic chapter,
Virgin
right?
Galactic part, yes.
And then in 2005, my then boyfriend and he surprised me with tickets to space, and so and for a honeymoon, I'm like, honeymoon, you haven't even proposed yet, but I figured that was in the works. So I've been waiting for 20 years. I've been a future astronaut. And that's how I met Ron Rosano, who's another Virgin Galactic astronaut. He's not a future astronaut, though. He's actually just a Virgin Galactic astronaut. So he got the upgrade to like real astronaut. So that was awesome. I got to be at Ron's flight. That was another great adventure on Earth. Going to Spaceport America is a fantastic adventure on Earth. I led a road trip there from LA to New Mexico once with a bunch of Jedis. It was super fun. And we got to camped out in New Mexico and we got to see Spaceport America and right back. So yeah, all kinds of great, amazing space adventures you could have on Earth without even going to space.
When I think about that trajectory, Loretta, you've got to at least mention SpaceKind.
Yeah. I'm like, but I can't land the plane yet. I haven't done yeah. And then for an encore, and then my favorite part so far is taking everything that I've learned and everything that's been given to me and all the amazing mentors I've had, and paying it forward. Because if people hadn't given me a hand up in my 20s, I would still be in the gutter. So I was like, okay, I'm 51. I mean, I started this 10 years ago, but I need to give a hand up to those people coming behind me and give them some of the wisdom that was given to me at 27 that I am so grateful for, that saved my life. And so I pay it forward now with our online SpaceKind training, which Oscar just completed with me last week, and Ron has done as well, and Shelby. I'm just looking through the crowd, trying
Mhm.
to see people like. Yeah. So we've had a anyway. So Jedi train. We used to call it Jedi training when I did it in house at Virgin Galactic. So I'd put up flyers around the hangar to say, "Come join us for Jedi training." And then during COVID, I figured out how to do it over Zoom, as we all figured out how to do all this stuff over Zoom, which is great because then you could have lunch with your parents and then come upstairs and do a meeting. Um, and but I realized if I was on doing it online, I couldn't put up flyers up saying Jedi training because Disney has the copyright on that. So we had to come up with another name. So we call it SpaceKind training. It's like humankind, uh, reminding us that we're both spacey and kind. Yeah, thank you, Oscar. And it's just incredible to be in this community and like have this Zoom meeting where you can let your hair down, be yourself, share what you're struggling with, get support, build community, and get challenges in your life to like be who you've always wanted to be and like take ground and being a leader, your confidence, your integrity, your repairing relationships that have gone south or distant or cold, and learning to have more joy in your life. So that's what we do. And then like, and we dance for a minute at the beginning of every Zoom because it's fun and we're alive and we can. So like, oh, and Titan, duh. Sorry, Titan. Obviously, Titan's along as well. Um, and so yeah, so that's really my pride and joy right now. I'm really passionate about that because I believe that what we do in space is super critical. Like our space community, we are going to be setting the tone for humanity's next 10,000 years, and the precedents we set in space are critical. And I think so. We're like the tip of the spear. I don't know what that metaphor means, but you hear it sometimes, and that's what we are. We're going to be first, and so what we do and how we do it really matters. So I'm really committed to training and building trust between people. I think trust is really important. Information is now. I grew up in an information economy. That information is now abundant, ubiquitous, free, and abundant everywhere. But trust is becoming very scarce, and so I'm really passionate, like working to build trusted relationships with people um, and communities, and just trusting yourself, like learning to trust your own intuition and believing yourself and your mission and your vision and what you came to Earth to do.
Oh, I love it. And even at the very beginning of your response, I was reminded about moving in space kind meetings as you were moving all over your office there. And we definitely need it at this point in the day.
Yes, it's good. Like one time I was like falling asleep and I had like some more emails I had to get out. And I was like, but I just need a nap. And I was like, you know what? 1 minute dance party.
Yeah.
And it worked. It worked. It's physics. It was amazing. So when you're like have to grind something out and you don't want to, you're like, maybe dancing isn't your thing. Do whatever your thing is. Like get your body moving, like jumping jacks, whatever it takes. Have some fun.
Just the
You'll like, wake yourself up.
biology background speaking there too, right?
Biology is
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, let's hear a little on Emily's trajectory too. So, what brought you to your space related work, Emily, and to here, and who might have been your gravity assist along the way?
Gosh, well, it's never a good idea to follow Loretta because she is such a
Fair.
great storyteller and she has so many fantastic experiences. I always love hearing about them. I was also SpaceKind 8 or skate as we would call it sometimes. So we just skate through life. So yeah, I can definitely say hands down without a doubt, if you have not done SpaceKind, just she's not paying me to say this. I'm not I freaking loved it and I learned so much from it. It was definitely a part of my space journey for sure that got me to where I am today. But that's not where it started at all. So I was a competitive athlete. I competed in the so-called sport of CrossFit. If some of you guys would call it that or not, I don't know. But I did compete very heavily in that sport. And I had a partner that I would compete with all the time. And I learned that her mom was on the board of directors for Mars Society, or I'm sorry, Explore Mars at the time. And she does a lot of stuff with space law. And I was just now graduating with my master's in human factors. I was also an aircraft accident investigator, primarily looking at the human factors side of things. I had done that for about 10 years. And to be honest, I got a little bit, my day to day started becoming really monotonous. I got a little bit bored. And so when I learned that my competitive partner's mom was in the realm of space, it was nothing I had ever thought of being a part of. I was never really fascinated with space, but I was like, for some reason, super intrigued. So I had reached out to her. We ended up having coffee. It was going to last like 30 minutes. We spent 4 hours having coffee. This coffee, like they had to kick us out. We went outside to the patio and we had coffee for 4 hours. And this woman made me, she could make anyone feel like this, but she made me feel like I could run through a brick wall. And she saw so much in me that I could not see in myself yet. I think I was at a point of my life where I just really wasn't sure like what I was going to do. I didn't feel completely fulfilled with everything I was doing yet. And she introduced me to the International Space University. So I came home to my husband after this coffee shop date. And mind you, we are a dual income household with 2 kids. And I come home and I say, you know what? I think I'm going to quit my job and go to France for 10 weeks. And he is, being the very supportive husband that he was and still is, he said, okay, let's figure out how we're going to make this work. It wasn't a matter of, I don't know if we can do that. It was a matter of let's figure out how we're going to make it work. So sold the house, moved to a smaller place, changed our lifestyle up a little bit. I got accepted into the university for the program. I flew out to France. He held down the fort. Luckily, our kids were not teenagers yet because I don't know if he could do it today. However, so I went there and my eyes were opened to a whole new universe, literally. I learned about all different kinds of things when it came to space exploration, the human performance side of things. And remember, I'm in human factors. I was a competitive athlete, so I knew a lot about the human side of things. But I met a friend there at the university who was involved in analog missions, and she and I were talking about various challenges she was having, and I was like, okay, whoa, what are analog missions? What is this? So she kind of filled me in a little bit. And coming from aviation, especially here in the US, I was like, okay, well, what's the training procedures? What are the standards? What do the regulations say? She was like, I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't exist for analogs. And I was like, mind blown. I was like, how can this not exist for such an isolated, confined, extreme environment? You're putting individuals in these environments, doing scientific studies. I'm like, what is happening? You're putting these people in lava tubes and there's no regulations and they're living there for a week. Like, what is happening? So I go through the program. I get back home after the 10 weeks and my kids went to school, my husband went to work, and I was just at home, jobless, not knowing what to do. And if you've ever been a part of the International Space University or even just been deployed in the military, or you've done a really intense thing for a period of time with a really, very intense purpose, you come back home and all of a sudden that's gone. It's not gone, it's changed. It's completely changed. And you kind of expect to go back to your normal life, but you have to define what this new normal was. And so we kind of called it this deorbiting effect. And it's very similar to when astronauts come back to space, whether they've been there for 5 minutes or they've been there for 5 months, it's still, you're a changed person, really. And so I struggled with kind of like what I was going to do. And I had this idea of, really getting involved in shaping the culture of what analog missions and analog astronauts could actually be. I went to Dubai to present at the International Astronautical Congress, or IAC. I had met Michaela Muslova, who was the habitat director at High Seas at the time. And she mentioned that there was an analog mission coming up and she said that I should apply to it. So I did. I got accepted. At the same time, I also reached out. I had learned about the Analog Astronaut Conference. And one of the things that my mentor told me when we met for coffee was, if you ever want to get involved in any industry, the best place to start is to volunteer for one of their conferences because you can 9 times out of 10 get in for free or at least get a discounted ticket, and you can be around all the people that are kind of, heavily influential in that arena. And so they accepted me as a volunteer. I went and did my analog mission at High Seas. I spent 30 days there. And then I went straight from there pretty much to the Analog Astronaut Conference in 2022. Is the first time they ever did it in person. And I have been a part of this ever since then. After I finished my mission, and actually even during my mission, my goal was to really understand why people were doing these analog missions, what they did to prepare for it, what they're getting out of it, and how they're going to reintegrate back into the real world. I also understood a really big safety gap at this time. And quite interestingly enough, I actually had the name of my company before I knew what it was. I don't know why. I liked the way that Interstellar Performance Labs kind of like sounded and fit. Interstellar is one of my favorite space movies. So everything just kind of fit together. And so as soon as I left my habitat, I remember I went on a hike in, I can't remember which one it was, but being in a confined environment for 30 days, seeing the same people, the same colors, eating the same foods, everything, not feeling sun or wind or warmth on your skin, and then going straight into a tropical rainforest with waterfalls was the most awe-inspiring thing I'd ever experienced. And I remember it started raining and all the hikers were running to their cars. And I was like, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
I get out of my car and I like run up this trail and there's this magical waterfall. I lay on the ground on my back and it's like pouring. I'm like crying, I'm emotional, whatever. And it came to me, I was like, I want to help prepare individuals for isolated, confined, and extreme environments. And I want to shape the safety culture of what these environments are all about. So it was like this, literally, it was like a click that happened. And so I came home, I went to the Analog Astronaut Conference. I made it my mission to really learn what this was going to do. It was a huge leap of faith because I had no idea if it was ever going to even be anything. And fast forward to today, I mean, I developed an intensive 9-week curriculum. I've done 3 cohorts. We started the world's biggest analog, which we actually spent about almost 4 years planning, which we just ran the mission in October. Super incredible mission, which I could probably talk for hours on. But it was the very first time that we ran a mission using multiple habitats across the world, reporting to a singular mission control. And so I was able to do all of that with my company. I also recently just got hired on as a human factors engineer at a company called Fort Hill Group. And they ended up merging my company under theirs. And so they are giving me all the resources and support to be able to do everything I've ever wanted to do with Interstellar Performance Labs and to really help with the safety culture of safety culture and the training culture of what these analogs are. And one piece of information that I forgot to include is throughout this whole process, when we learned that there were no standards for these environments, we decided to put together a group of people to develop the international guidelines and standards for space analogs, which we published the first iteration in November of 2023. And so just so much has happened in the past 5 years, and it's all been through the power of really just trusting my gut and following my heart. And I think there's so many decisions that we make in life where we overthink the outcome. And something that came up for me during SpaceKind was what if there's no wrong decision? It's just which decision do you feel guided to choose? Because I think that we put so much pressure on ourselves to make the right choice for other people or for us. But what if there is no right or wrong choice? It's just the decision that you pursue the rest of your life for. So, yeah. I guess I can hand it back over to Mark.
Yeah, no, I'm excited just to have captured those stories, if nothing else, for the recording of the session. So there's a number of directions we could take this, but I like starting with kind of a theme that's been throughout the day. And we have about half of the participants in this event, actually about half the participants in all of my space education events are formal educators of some kind. But about half are enthusiasts, lifelong learners, folks from the space industry in different capacities. So I'm going to ask this with sort of a student-like focus, but certainly we could expand that discussion to mean lifelong learners. So, how might space-related experiences, so analog missions, zero G experiences, SpaceKind, trips like Kirby and I do, where we get people out into analogs in the desert or to spaceports, like the NASTAR training, right? Like, how might space-related experiences like that help prepare kids or people for the growing space economy, or more aspirationally, humanity's future in space? And
Uh,
wide open other than yeah.
okay. So Laura, if you don't mind, I would you like okay. So for me, the first thing that comes to mind is anytime that I have done an analog mission or I have supported people going through an analog mission or an experience of something like this, um, I always learn something new about myself. And I think that when we're students and we're lifelong students. I would consider myself always a student. And it just depends on, what are you learning? And I feel like I'm so honored to be able to be a student of myself 24/7 for the rest of my life. And when we take our skill sets into the workforce, whether we're in the space industry or we're not, there's always something new to discover about ourselves. And I think that those things that we discover about ourselves have always been there, but it's how do we leverage that to help other people or support an organization or to make our lives more fulfilling. And I feel like you can only do that with the more information you have about yourself. So I really think those space experiences allow us to learn so much more about ourselves that we can apply it to the everyday life.
I love that answer. So it's essentially learning space-related experiences help us learn about ourselves, which is preparing us for whatever our future holds, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
love it. Loretta.
Great. That's beautiful. I love it, Emily. And in addition, I also the flip side of that is also that in my career, I wanted to be, I looked at one of the reasons I went back to get a PhD is because I wanted to apply to the astronaut corps, NASA's astronaut corps. And of course, many people we come across, are looking to do that and like build their experiences and their resumes such that they're, competitive candidate to be selected by government as a government astronaut. And so, you meet a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm, trying to get my pilot's license and I'm learning Russian and I'm getting scuba certified. Like they're like checking the boxes of these experiences so that they're like qualified or they're ready or da, da, da. And one of the things that I would say is that beyond just checking the box, that one of the things that not that NASA would be looking for, but also anyone would be looking for, like somebody you want to date, or somebody else who wants to fly you on a different kind of vehicle. What everyone is looking for is like how well do you play with others? How well do you listen? How um, how gracious can you be? How well do you work as a team? Team players. I mean, that's one of the big things in the NASA interviews that they're trying to parse out is like, can this person function as a team? Because when you're on the International Space Station, for example, like in a remote, isolated environment, talk about remote, isolated environments, they can't tolerate people who are going to be all about themselves um, or fall apart or get stressed out or get overwhelmed or get claustrophobic or whatever it is. So one of the powerful things you could do beyond just like going down the checklist of all these cool experiences we can have on Earth that are amazing, is like Emily said, using those to learn about yourself and also using those experiences to learn about how to work, how to play better with others.
Like that.
Yeah.
That really builds on that. So it's learning about yourself and learning how to relate to other people and work well with them. Yeah, I appreciate that. Before I go on with any of the other questions I've got in front of me, want to also open it up. We're just over halfway through here. Ron, if you have questions for Emily and Loretta, or I want to also invite the participants to drop questions in the chat. I've got plenty queued up if we need them, but definitely want to, for the folks who showed up live, give you guys an opportunity to ask questions of Emily and Loretta too. But Ron.
Oh no, let me pass it on to the people who've already asked questions. Great to have you here. And it's like it is fabulous how you know we've evolved to being able to train those qualities that you need to be in space, here on Earth and replicate those, um, and bring about those skills that you need and work better as a team. It's interesting how astronauts have evolved from Mercury, Gemini, where there's test pilots and you're doing your own thing, to now you're from the space station for 6 months. You really need to be able to get along and be able to be really good at fixing things. So besides doing, hundreds of science experiments all at the same time. So, it's
Yeah,
great evolution.
Loretta, if I'm right, it was the title of your book of the new right stuff, that it's not about being like a stoic, self-reliant test pilot now. It's if people can't communicate with each other, that's how people die, right? In today's world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, and one of the new skill sets is being able to share about your experiences when you get back. Like in the olden days, astronauts would always say, "Oh, you should have sent a poet. Like I can't describe this profound experience I just had. Sorry." And so now one of the new skill sets, you need that Ron gets to do is like sharing authentically and vulnerably about your experience. And that's one of the gifts of being a private astronaut. Is in the olden days when the taxpayers were paying for everything, they were like, don't talk about your feelings, don't talk about how cool it was or how it was fun, or no, we only talk about the science. We got to get returned the investment on the taxpayers. So they had to suppress all of their experience and just be like, we did some really good science, and the science was really impactful, and so it's like just like muted everything. And so that's why the new right stuff, this new era, there's this new skill set that's now required, which is like people are like, oh my gosh, what was that like? Tell me how you felt. Tell me what your message is. Tell me what you want to give to kids, and we have the luxury, the gift, the opportunity to be able to share like powerfully, authentically, vulnerably, like, and inspiringly, to ways that kids can connect and be like, you can do this too. This could be your future. You could do anything. You got this. We love you. And so that's a totally new skill set that wasn't on the checklist for anyone before. So, but it is now.
Well, that's a great segue actually to another question. How might kids or anyone get involved in these kinds of space related experiences? For either.
Okay. Well, my favorite is space camp. I mean, I was blessed to go to space camp when 1990. God, I would have been 16. Space Academy level 2, the 24-hour mission, which is the best. So I highly recommend space camp for kids, just to get like real immersive experience. I mean, that's kind of like an analog for them. They're staying in the habitat. It's so cool. They get to live in a space dorm, and launch rockets and do missions and simulations. It's just cool. And there's miniature versions of that, all over, that different smaller organizations do locally. Like, well, and of course there's the Challenger centers. But there's 40 of those across the U.S. So if you can't get a kid to Huntsville, Alabama, which is hard, there's also other organizations that do similar kinds of experiences, hopefully closer to you.
And I'm seeing some others in the chat. Oh, Pamela speaking up, saying she went to space camp. I must have just missed you, Loretta. I went in sixth grade and 11th grade. Would have been right around the same time.
Oh man, wouldn't that have been awesome? You guys met a long time ago and you didn't even realize it.
Wait, Titan, you went to space camp in 1986?
Wow.
I didn't even know it was even open in 1986. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I would have gone in 87, I think, probably the first time.
88, 89, and 90. Okay, I'm clearly, I
And
guess
when
I
did
think
the
the
movie come
movie
out? The
Space
movie
Camp came out in 86, right?
real close to that, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it must have been open.
Yeah,
Yeah, that movie, you guys probably didn't even know this movie existed, but there was a movie called Space Camp,
that's brilliant.
like when we were kids, and wait, no spoiler alert. Anyway, cool things happen to those kids who get to go to space camp in that movie. And so you're watching it as a kid and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. So we should do another movie like that to get more kids excited about going to space camp.
Ooh, I like this idea.
A modern version of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But
Yeah.
we just got back from White Sands in New Mexico, and I have a greater connection to White Sands because that movie.
White Sands is awesome.
There are so many Mars-like environments across the world. I mean, like for the Mars Desert Research Station, I mean, you could even like going out there, you don't have to go do an analog mission to even go out there. Like you can go out to that area, you can see the facility from afar. And it's just like, it's so breathtaking when you're standing on the edge of a cliff and you're looking around and you can't see anything for miles except for just the terrain that looks very Martian like, and it feels otherworldly. It really truly does. And just being present in that moment, I think, is so powerful to be able to just kind of like put yourself in another planet, and just like think about like the what ifs and the curiosity and the exploration that you would experience on another planet. It's so incredibly cool. I got to do a mission at MDRS and I did not want to stay in the habitat. All I wanted to do was go out and do EVA and explore. Like there was always a new gorge or a tunnel, and it's like the natural part of us, right? It's like the natural part of us as being humans is to want to actually explore something that's brand new. So yeah, get outside, go investigate, go explore, be curious. Like don't stop asking questions. That's just such a huge perk to being human, as we get to ask those questions and we get to explore the answers.
And that
Yeah.
that really. Oh, go ahead, Loretta.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump in real quick, Mark. Yes, get outside camping. Like not everyone can get to like a paid space experience, but you can get to dirt, and like dirt is cool. So get kids outside, get them sleeping on the ground, get them away from civilization, like learning how to fend for yourself and like cook out away, and and look up at the sleep under the stars. Like you don't even need it. Well, I'm in California, we don't need tents here, we're lucky like that. Just sleep under the stars and like get them to have a fall in love with their home planet, fall in love with spaceship Earth, and fall in love with our night sky, like the galaxy, and just like make sure that give them an experience of seeing the Milky Way galaxy. Please just drive 2 hours out of the city wherever you are and like get them to look up in the dark sky, and introduce them to Vega and the stars and as their friends, and they'll never be lonely. They'll always know they're home.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And that all resonates with me too. Also, you sound like Kirby with the rocks or dirt. What'd you say? Dirt? It's so cool.
It's cool.
In the dirt.
Yeah. But I tell you, working with him, I've really got an appreciation for the fact that geology, it's almost, poorly named. We were talking earlier today. It's really, it's not just a study of Earth, it's planetology, it's planetary science, right? Like if you want to learn about other planets, there's a lot you can do right here on Earth. And speaking of white sands, I thought I would share a picture because I've been out there several times now with Kirby, and I love taking a picture at sunset when the sand is orange. And it's a direct analog for gypsum sand dunes around the North Pole of Mars. And I figured, well, the gypsum's got to be white on Mars too. So maybe I'm kind of fooling myself with these sunset photos. But Kirby said, nope, there's what is it, magnetite, iron heavy dust all over everything. And sure enough, this get outside, as both of you are saying. You can have experiences like this. This is the White Sands National Park at sunset, and it looks and feels I mean, you couldn't be outside, of course, but looks and feels very much like being on the gypsum sand dunes around the North Pole of Mars. And you can visit craters all across the country, all across the world. You can visit lava flows that are analogous to places on the moon and elsewhere in the solar system. You can get into sand dunes in a lot of parts of the country, even up by the Great Lakes. So definitely get outside, see those dark skies. That resonates with me. Now,
And you
Sarah,
can see some of that on my live video feed capture over the area
let me see if I
from
can.
the station. So here we
That's
go.
White Sands, Liam?
Want to
That is
share
White
It
Sands.
is,
In
yeah.
fact, yeah.
image,
Let me
Liam?
just.
Seems like there's a lot of water.
It could just be the resolution that you're seeing at. These are mountains. Obviously different colors. You can see a bit of the lava field just to
Yep.
the center left there. Las Cruces is coming up on the right, and you can really see cloud parallax on this view, which is really does show you this is from space. And there's El Paso.
One of
Just
the reasons we take people to Carrizozo lava flow and White Sands is because those are features that Ron and others can see on their
Yeah.
suborbital flights.
There we go. And the spaceport America is down there somewhere. Okay, where is it? It is between. All right, I know it's here somewhere.
Right in there, yeah.
There's a little sliver of the airfield somewhere here. I've just lost track of it right
That's
now.
it. It's right on the other side of that ridge from White Sands and Carrizozo.
Mhm.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. Thank you,
Well,
Liam.
I'm going to check the chat for other questions, but before our space camp conversation there, Sarah had a great question. I'm going to invite her to come on mic if she wants to ask her question.
Is
Sarah?
is Sarah Mitron?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the last question I have, I've been sprinkling comments throughout. So I
Oh.
think the last one that I had was about mental health.
Yes.
So we've talked about soft skills and engineering skills and STEM and all of that, but I mean, especially the folks that have been to space or plan to be in space or would like to be in space, there is a mental and behavioral health component that and I haven't heard. And obviously I've heard the analog, but they've had scuffles during analog
Hmm.
periods. And so really folks that are, can be isolated a long period of time, are not prone to depression. Those are the types of things that we kind of have to like look at as we prepare, and obviously you educators prepare folks for space career. So I was wondering if you guys had any thought about mental and behavioral health specifically.
Yeah. So actually, during the World's Biggest Analog, I was the lead for crew selection, and then also the training component prior to the mission. And just a very quick overview of what WBA is for those of you who may not know about it. It was a very ambitious mission. We had 16 habitats across the world that were running a simultaneous mission, all conducting the same research experiments with one centralized mission control center. And that mission control center was hosted by the Austrian Space Forum in Vienna. And so during the mission, I was positioned in Vienna, and I had a confidential access point to all crew members across the world. So myself and then two others who are also who are trained psychologists. I'm not in psychology. A lot of times people mistake human factors for psychology, but there is a lot of crossover there for sure. But one of the things that we did do prior to the mission was we did do situational awareness of self. Emotional intelligence comes into play a little bit there, but having awareness of yourself and your own limitations, and then being able to trust your crew to be able to speak up when you are kind of having those challenges is very key. It is number one, I would say. And that's where kind of learning more about yourself comes into play. And then during the mission, we had a way to be able to communicate with all participants, to be able to submit kind of these support requests, whether it was for themselves, or even we didn't encourage this, but sometimes people did send in things like, hey, I'm concerned about one of my crew members. These are some things that are going on. And so they would share kind of those things, and we would have a way to be able to connect with them. Our psychologists would reach out to them in a confidential way that did not go through our mission control center, because all of that was being recorded. So we had a very secure way to be able to communicate with them. But there was a lot of training aspect that came into play with that. And because this mission only just wrapped up, I mean, I've only been back to the country for about 2 weeks now since the mission finished, but we're in the process of collecting a lot of information, not for necessarily publication purposes, but for training purposes to figure out how can we better support these analog astronauts or anybody going into these types of environments to improve training and the standards that we have from a mental health perspective. So I don't know if that answers your question. That's kind of what I can speak on. Loretta might also have some really great insights to something like that.
Yeah, this is something I'm really passionate about. One of the reasons I started SpaceKind training was because one of my I had a close friend who was a NASA astronaut. I had met him when my first job out of college was in the astronaut office in Johnson, and when I arrived in Houston, was when he was just getting back from his first space mission. And he was really struggling with having to go back to a desk job after this like mind-blowing experience. It's like, all I want to do is talk about space, and they want me to play a desk. Like, and I was, 22, and I'm like, I will listen to you talk about space as long as you want. That's totally fine with me. And so we were perfect for each other. And we just had a blast. And he went on to retire from NASA, and about 10 years after his flight, he committed suicide. And that, when I found out about that, it really shook me. And as someone who's dealt with my own struggles and mental health like challenges and like feeling like crap a lot, it's like I really felt it was important to start talking about a lot of the things that we don't talk about. I mean, part of the new right stuff, part of the old right stuff culture is to not have any problems and to be perfect and to be cool and to be, I've got it together and you should select me for the next mission because I'm perfect. And so there's not really a lot of space in that culture to be yourself. And that's not always healthy. So it became really important to me to start dispelling that myth that astronauts have the right stuff, or that life isn't hard, or that going to space will solve all your problems. Like you'll have made it and you'll be a rock star and you'll be fine. That life is more complicated than that, and we need more support than that. And so starting to have honest conversations and giving people space to be like, look, of course you're struggling, you're dealing with X and Y and Z crap, and like it's hard, and like just you don't have to pretend you're perfect around me. So giving people safe space and tools to be able to pick themselves up by their straps and like find ways to take care of themselves, so that, because we can't have somebody going postal on a moon base. Like, the stakes are too high in what we do. Like anyone in your 10,000 person settlement somewhere could take everybody out with, like, just by poking a hole in the dome, or in the hull. So we have to, and then we had the woman who drove across country, a NASA astronaut who was having an affair with another NASA astronaut, and then got jealous of his girlfriend, and drove to Florida from Texas wearing a diaper, and assaulted the girlfriend in the airport parking lot, and so there's just been like different breaks that we've seen, and even in the astronaut, even in the best of the best. And so it's like time to start telling the truth that even in the best of the best, like it's not all it's not all roses. And so certainly with the rest of us, we're not perfect either, and just like to start finding better ways to handle it.
Yeah, ultimately we're all human.
We are all human. Yeah.
There's
a really good book by Mary Roach called Packing for Mars. If you haven't read it, you definitely should. It's a factual book, but she's a comedian, so she's really great at giving it a very entertaining way of giving you information. But I love, in the very first page, she says that to the rocket scientist, the human is the most frustrating part of machinery. because they are so unpredictable. And that is true. It's like you said, Loretta, it's like it doesn't matter if you are the best of the best, you graduated at the top of your class and you have it all together and you're the most emotional, intelligent person, and you, whatever, like, but everybody has a breaking point. Everybody has triggers. Everybody has something that they haven't discovered about themselves yet, and it will surface given the right conditions. And so if it's, you have to have a constructive way to be able to communicate these things and get them out, and a support group and all of that kind of stuff. It's so important.
It occurs to me that these analog missions and other related space experiences, it's an opportunity to put yourself through that kind of stress test
Yes.
and deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to like learning more about yourself, like how do I respond to somebody else having a breakdown? Can I be supportive, or am I going to be able, or am I going to freeze and pull back? How do I respond in those situations? And then also kind of going to what Loretta was saying about, the team aspect. How can I support in a team, and how do I function in a team when certain things come up? How can the team support me as well? Because sometimes it's hard for us to ask for help, or to allow people to help us. But getting comfortable with that in some of those environments is really important.
Well, Perry, I think it is, has dropped a question in here too, particularly for Emily, but I imagine Loretta might have some insight into it. We probably have time for this final question. Perry, do you want to come on mic and ask your question?
Sure. I was just wondering if, with the human factors research team that you have, Emily, have you looked or considered the methods and psychology from the intel that's been gathered from poverty simulations, and or considered doing any research and conducting like no speaking at all projects where you have no choice. You have to use whatever method besides speaking. And I just wondered if any of that kind of research has been done. And then if not, why not? And maybe it's a good thing to do. I don't know.
Yeah, so I can't say that there is no research on that, because I don't know what I don't know. I know I'm not aware of any research that's been done like that. I would say that there could be potential IRB challenges with something like that, because when you do an analog mission, any kind of scientific research that you're doing does have to be cleared through that. It would depend on the duration too, I think. However, we have done many, 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 many exercises in that capacity, different forms of communication, different ways of because there's many different ways that we can communicate. In fact, there's a fantastic exercise that I really love to run. It's powerful, both, in a Zoom call, but then also in person. And we did it during our in-person training back in Arizona. And I think a couple of people are here from that. But it's where you're really not even listening to words that are being spoken. You're only trying to understand the facial features, the way the eyebrows raise, or your eyebrows burrow in, or the way you get expressive or use your body language and things like that. I've also done scenario drills where we don't do any speaking, and you have to convey or complete a specific task with your team without using any kind of words. So there's ways that we've done that in order to practice how we communicate and working together as a team. But I don't know of any specific research that's been done, especially in an analog mission.
I think it would be cool to, it actually might break down a lot of barriers pretty quickly in weird situations, like having everybody on the team, nobody speaks the same language, but they got to accomplish a goal or something. I mean, something like that, where, or even having like a whole set of blind people, or a whole set of, whatever the, people with only one leg, or, like adding that weird factor into it. I don't know. I just kind of thought of that when you were talking about some of the simulations that you had done. And then with Loretta, the combination of your experiences between the two of you, it's very interesting. It's like you're both really rambunctious in a way, in a lot of ways, like calamity Janes, kind of like, I don't care, I got to do it. And I think that's really an important factor with a lot of this, so it's encouraging to see other women like myself that are out there. So
Yeah.
Thanks, Carrie.
Loretta, we're coming up on the end of the time here, but if you had anything you wanted to add to that, wanted to give you an opportunity for that.
Yeah, just in closing, I just wanted to say if anyone knows anyone who would be interested in starting their hero's journey with us, our next SpaceKind starts Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. And we'd love to have you with us. And yeah, build your own new right stuff and become a Jedi.
Loretta, it also occurred to me earlier, speaking of 2026, that the 20th anniversary of Yuri's Night is also the centennial of the Robert Goddard first chemical rocket flight.
That's
So
right.
we got a lot of milestones to celebrate come April.
Wow.
2026.
Thank you both. And Loretta too, I've been wanting to interject at some point. Like I'll never forget when you sent me a DM during the overview roundtable and said, "Hey, I think this might be for you." And I had the rare opportunity to do level 1, level 2, and level 3 back to back.
Wow.
I think the one time you ran level 3, if I've got that straight. So that was lucky and absolutely influenced the book and the curriculum and everything that I was working on at the time. So thank you for that. And a
And
different sort of memory.
Yuri's Night is at Griffith Observatory this time, right? The mothership version of that.
Yeah, at Yuri Night LA this year. It'll be Saturday, April 11th at Griffith. Come join us.
Woo, woo, woo.
Or host your own wherever you are.
And Emily, it's a different sort of memory, but you might appreciate knowing that since you led a group of us in a workout at the Analog Astronaut Conference, I have done push-ups differently ever since. So.
Yes, push-ups, my greatest pet peeve. Hopefully the correct way, right?
Well, yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing push-ups to spite you. I've adopted it. But I remember the conference and remember the session frequently. So thank you both for showing up today. And in some way, I'm sure adjusting the trajectory of everybody here and everybody who might watch the recording in the future. It's really fantastic and generous of you to come and share your experience with all of us. And thank you to everybody who asked questions and participated. It was a really active chat. And thanks, Ron, as always, for co-hosting with me.
Oh, of course. Thanks so much, Emily and Loretta. Love you guys. Really great.
And if you guys are sticking around in less than 10 minutes, Ron White is going to be up.
Frank White.
Oh, jeez. Ron, how many times am I going to do that? It's something to do with doing Zoom all day, but I frequently transpose Ron and Frank's name, but only during this event. Awesome. I guess it was a shaky start to this session too, but fantastic content. Thank you, everybody, again. But Frank and Yasmin are up for the space philosophy session here to end the day in less than 10 minutes. Stick around.